Hello! I was wondering if I might trouble you for a cup of strong black coffee, and in the process engage you with an anecdote of no small amusement.
Hello, nerds and herds and geeks and freaks and I don't know, everybody.
Tiny children or adults.
We are very open and welcoming in this community of nerds and dogs, apparently.
Can you pet the dog?
Am John. No, you cannot pet the dog.
I'm Megan.
And this is a series we do on the Nerd Herder podcast called NerdyVerse, where we talk about everything not Star Wars. Nerd Herder is all about Star Wars, and we love it, and people, for some reason, love it. At least like two people. And so, but we like other things, and so we wanted a space to talk about that. That's what this show is about. It's been a little while since we've been able to continue with our non-Star Wars-y conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But the last time we were together, we were talking about The Legend of Zelda.
Yes, we were.
The Legends of Zelda. We talked about all of the games, essentially.
Essentially.
In a timeline sense. Because Legend of Zelda, or the Zeldaverse, is very complicated.
The Legends of Hyrule. How about that?
There you go. That works. Yeah, it's very complicated. It breaks off and maybe reconverges, and it's all behind the scenes explaining of why doesn't this game make sense with this game, but it's enjoyable because it creates interesting opportunities of time travel and also just plot implications and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there are elements of time travel in almost every single game.
Mm-hmm.
Either time travel or interdimensional travel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting concept.
Yeah. So a brief recap from that last episode. So the general idea of Legend of Zelda games.
The general idea of, there's a lot that makes a Zelda game, I think a lot of people would say. Like, you have a princess who is not in another castle, she's in her castle, who is either kidnapped by Ganon or a minion of Ganondorf.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's Girahim, who has questionable dress sense. Sometimes it's Zant, who is a big, Junji Ito weirdo.
Right.
Who has a very stupid-looking face, personally. I'm not a big fan of his design.
It's gotta be evil and creepy.
I'll talk about that later. And then you have Link, who is the eternal Hyrule warrior, who is the keeper of the Triforce of Courage.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes him, big tough boy.
That's what makes him the hero.
Exactly, or a feral child, depending on who wins. I am personally a fan of feral Link.
Right.
In Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more than I'm not going to say people generally. It's a lot more than a lot of people know.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to look at it and say, oh, that's an adventure game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really need any lore to go with that. But there is so much lore.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
It would take hours and hours to go through every single game and the implications that has for all of the plot.
Mm-hmm.
But today, we're only going to talk about a few.
Right.
Because I am tired.
Well, I mean, we kind of highlighted the whole thing, but there's a lot of games is the main thing from the last one is, there's the original, which isn't even the first game, and then
last.
You get into gimmicks between games in terms of, oh, this is the Wii game, so this is this, this is what we do now. This is the Switch game, so we do this, and, so forth and so on. And then there's also products at the time. Everybody's doing this now, so we're going to kind of do our Zelda version of it. And so, there's a lot. I would think that Zelda is one of those verses that could have someone for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat. They don't have a racing game like Mario does and everything. But generally, if you like video games, there's probably at least one that you would like. In Legend of Zelda.
If you are not a fan of story, you could play Link's crossbow training. You could play Tingle's Tingle Adventure. I forget what that one's called.
Well, there's one I recently played with some of our kids from church that was interesting. It's one where you each play Link technically, but it's like one of those Wii U party games.
Four Swords?
Not Four Swords quite. I don't think so. But one of you was arrow, three of you were swords.
Yeah.
Is it Four Swords? I don't think it's Four Swords.
I don't think it's
because I didn't have a sword.
I don't remember.
But it's played on the Wii U, and nonetheless, so like there's party games or family
Where I'm
games
not
or
incredibly
something like
versed.
that. The Wii U was kind of the only experience I had with Nintendo for a very long time. I mean, I had a Game Boy and a Game Boy Advance, but I didn't really count those as Nintendo.
I'd count those as Nintendo. Those are like essential Nintendo.
I mean, I had them for Pokemon. That was it. I didn't play them for anything else, and
It's
I don't
essential
really
Nintendo?
I don't really count that as like Nintendo. I mean, I know they throw Lucario and Super Smash and everything, but like Nintendo's not the biggest fan of probably the thing that gave them their second generation of life.
Wow.
I'm just saying, like, it started with cards in a couple of video games, and they really just haven't breathed good life into Pokemon in years. They just keep repeating it because they're too busy, with Jumpman over here and Feral Link over here, and it's just like,
Yep.
okay, we have these other great games. Oh, and occasionally the pink ball of fluff is, popular, but it's like, I don't know. I personally don't feel like Pokemon has gotten huge. No, I was talking about Kirby.
I know. But he's not fluffy.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
He's all
he
smooth.
looks fluffy.
He's a basketball.
I mean, fluff isn't that's furry. You're thinking furry. Fluff can be like a non-furred state, I think.
That's fair. I get that.
I mean, I think it's just a way of saying like soft round or something like that. Like it just looks fluffy, like soft and round to the touch. So
I feel like if you picked up not Furby, if you picked up Kirby and you squeezed him, he would like ooze through your fingers.
I don't really think of him that way. That's too Boo.
I don't know. I do. There's a lot of similarities between Boo and Kirby.
I don't really think so.
I don't know.
I mean, they both eat, sure.
What are we talking about?
There's a lot of similarities between me and Obama too. We're both alive.
There's a lot of similarities between you and Obama.
I mean, you could draw a line to anyone if you go by that logic. Well, we both eat. I mean, So we both put our pants on backwards. It's fine. Like
Anyway.
So, but yeah, so because of the Triforce to be on brand, we wanted to talk about our favorite games. So now that we've kind of branched the full brand, wanting to nitpick, although you have the better experience, and I only have one favorite game from Zelda, so...
You've only played 2, but I think
Yes.
you've still become a Zelda fan.
No. I mean, I like the story, but I wouldn't count that because I don't really look forward to directly playing the games. So I think that's a count against me.
That makes me sad.
It's like liking Star Wars story, but not liking watching the movies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I like Darth Vader. I just don't like watching the movies.
I've met some
You know
people
what I mean?
like that.
I mean, I'm sure they're out there. I mean, I'm that way with Legend of Zelda. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I like the story. I have not really greatly enjoyed the games. I have not played all of them, but of what I've played, it's been 50-50. A very strong 50-50 too. So.
Yeah. I understand. But to bring it kind of back home to what we're talking about. First things first. I want to talk about my favorite console ever released. My favorite Nintendo console. When I was like...
You can say favorite console because I'm pretty sure it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's my favorite console. I'd say. Just like we were talking about this earlier. The Nintendo GameCube and the PS2 came out around the same time. So, like, that was both of our favorite consoles, I think.
Yeah.
And, like, it's so funny how they came out at, like, just the right time for us to be like, ooh,
Well, I mean, us generationally, that's why. Like, that's when we were the age to really latch on to video games and all of that stuff. And that's what they were hoping for. And it worked. And then they've shunned that part of their lives and moved on. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's sad.
I'm bitter.
But anyway, the Nintendo GameCube came out in 2001. Very good year for a burgeoning child to find video games, I guess. one of the main features was that it was not what many game consoles were doing at the time, where it was a disc-based console, but it could only play certain discs. It could only play mini DVDs, which, if you don't remember what those look like, kids,
they would still come in the
they're
same
just tiny
package.
DVDs.
Yeah, it would. There was once a time where like the DVD cases and CD-ROM cases came with the big one and then the little one. And if you had more recent like PC, back when they came in the cow boxes, your CD-ROM would pop out and it'd have the big disc and then it'd have a slot for the little disc, and so you could play both on CD, on PC.
Yeah.
But not game consoles. That wasn't a thing then. So while Xbox and PlayStation was working with full discs, Nintendo was trying. That's where the exclusivity started.
Exactly. They were one of the first to do the mini DVD console games. And with that came a whole slew of fantastic games, in my opinion. I'm going to put that up top, in my opinion. You had Super Smash Bros. Melee, which is my personal favorite Super Smash Bros. It's the only one I'm good at. I cannot play the new one. It's so complicated.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I can't even.
And it had the best controller. Like, that is something that
had the 3-pronged one, right?
No, that was the Nintendo 64.
Oh, okay.
The GameCube controller, I can show you, but
You
not
don't have
anyone
to.
else. You can Google it. It was very well designed. It had it had the D-pad, it had the 2 sticks, and it had 4 buttons that were like mapped around in a very specific fashion. It was a very specifically made controller. Yep.
Yeah.
And as you can tell,
made for Nintendo geeks by Nintendo geeks.
Exactly.
No one else.
And there are
Either
people,
you got indoctrinated or you didn't.
Yeah, and there are people who play the new Smash Brothers in every iteration with a GameCube controller because it is so perfectly mapped for Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah, well, I get that. Like, before PlayStation 4, when they stopped making it possible, with my PlayStation 2 and with my PlayStation 3, I would get Xbox controller for it. They would make a PlayStation controller that was formatted off the Xbox. And I hold that Xbox has the best controller. I like the feel of it and everything. I mean, in terms of mapping, it doesn't really matter, but in terms of how, like, holding it, and especially for versatility, I feel like it's way more comfortable than the wide PlayStation controllers.
That's understandable.
So I totally get the idea of, no, I like this. This is what helps me play better. This feels right, kind of thing.
Yeah, because it had that huge centralized A button in the very middle of it, talking about the GameCube controller. And then you had the B button right next to it, and you had X and Y up top, where you know how a normal controller is mapped. It's just a cross of buttons. That one,
Theirs was more like slants.
Exactly. It's, like I said, it's still a very popular controller map for a lot of people. Nintendo controllers have always been incredibly specific and not what anyone else was doing.
Yeah, that's their brand.
Yeah.
Is we're going to do... I mean, and that's, we have different opinions on it. I think that can be detrimental to a brand. You know, obviously, you've benefited and see the, the good in doing that of a brand. And then there's people that I'm sure are in the middle ground of, if I like the game, it worked for me. But I'm just very strong on the make it accessible. Like, just because it's accessible doesn't make it low quality. And I think that's a misunderstanding in a lot of branding.
We've had this conversation before of, Nintendo makes Nintendo games for Nintendo players. Like,
exactly.
It's exclusive. I have no arguments for that. Like, I'm
not saying that there's big, bad corporate bigwigs there that are horrible people. I just mean that...
No, Shigeru Miyamoto is precious.
It's in the planning, for sure.
Yeah. I grew up with Nintendo games, so I have played mainly Nintendo games my entire life.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just one of those things. You've got to find the one that works for you to get you in.
Yeah.
Not every game is going to get you into Nintendo.
And you know what got me into Nintendo?
The Segway.
The Segway.
The Segway.
I
Legend of Segway.
I hopped on my Segway and I ran into Shigeru Miyamoto and he was like, "Here, have this game. It's about a boy." But no, I got my GameCube secondhand, and with my secondhand GameCube came Wind Waker.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, Legend
That's
of Zelda.
the swimmy one, right? Or the boat.
Yes to both.
Yeah.
Yes to both.
The super cute Link.
So cute.
Not as cute as Link's Awakening, but super cute.
So cute that it upsets people.
It upset the world.
So a long time ago, well, in 2002, no, it was 2001. They were showing at a huge video game conference this, I guess, graphics plug.
Well, I mean, it was just a highlight reel. Like, it's one thing where you're like, oh, this is the Xbox panel. Let's show some Xbox highlights. So we're going to show games that were big or like you think of when you see. So this is where you see Halo. This is where you see Forza. This is where you see FIFA. Like, these are like big games where you're just like, this is what tells you you're watching an Xbox panel. Mm-hmm. And it was the same thing for Nintendo.
Yeah, they showed assets for Metroid. They showed assets for a new Mario game.
They wanted a highlight reel of their big bads.
And it was an update of Ocarina of Time graphics. It was not an entirely new game.
Yeah, because they didn't have the stuff to show yet for that game. But they were like, well, we've got to let people know Legend of Zelda's alive.
Exactly. And people got so hyped because it was just a 2-second clip of Link fighting Ganon. And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And Ganondorf. And,
yeah, it really didn't give you anything to run with, except, oh, those graphics look so cool.
For 2001. Yes.
I mean,
it still looks cool, honestly. 2001 wasn't bad for graphics.
Mm-hmm.
So when the trailer in 2002 for Awakening, for Legend of Zelda Wind Waker came out,
it's completely different.
Yeah, people got mad.
Star Wars fans did it with The Force Awakens when it came out. They expected to see, we're going to see Thrawn, we're going to see the Yuuzhan Vong, like Luke's going to show up and be, just awesome Grandpa Jedi and blah, blah, blah. It was like, we know nothing about this, but we're going to fill in all the blanks, and then getting mad when what we filled in with wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I get being let down.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to see this. I get that. I have that. I think everybody has that to a point. But to downright just be like, oh, this is garbage. They're garbage. None of this is ever going to be good. They killed my brand. Like, at some point you got to look like you were holding on to something and just got upset that they didn't give you what you wanted.
Yeah, and as a 7-year-old kid, I wasn't paying attention to that kind of stuff. I wasn't on the forums. I wasn't on,
Well, and I will say,
Reddit.
I think that was a big part of the feedback is because at that point, young people were the primary audience. So, similarly, we're still a part of the primary audience, but we've obviously aged up.
Exactly.
And similarly, game brands, advertising, even the games themselves have followed suit with that. They still keep in mind, hey, there's little kids now that are probably going to play Call of Duty, but we're still talking to the Call of Duty kids that came back in 2003.
Yeah. Nostalgia is a powerful tool.
Right. So I think a lot of the feedback was, because you could almost say, well, that's a childish way to react. Well, when a lot of them are preteens and teens, that actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that was part of the feedback. But Wind Waker. The game that we got that was actually probably good, I guess.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Something that I remember so distinctly about every single Zelda game that I've ever played is the title sequence. Right? Or I guess you would call it title menu. When you first put the game in and it shows the opening cutscene, right after that, and you get the prompt for press A to start. Mm-hmm. There is something. I get so giddy.
There's
every time I see
very
that.
particular group of people on the internet that appreciate start screens, and I've found that it's in very crazy brands. So that's a big thing in Halo. Mm-hmm. Is the start menus. And so it's just interesting to make that connection of I didn't expect that to be a thing for Legend of Zelda or Nintendo.
Oh yeah, start screens are very important in Nintendo games. At least to me, because that's the first bit of the game that you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember so specifically seeing the water move on the start screen and being like,
well, I think that was,
that's
wasn't
pleasant.
that the big reason they wanted to do a game like this was because, hey, we can do water now.
Yeah, that was a huge thing in GameCube.
Well, because that was, wasn't that Mario Sunshine too?
Yes.
Yeah. They
Super
were
Mario
really
Sunshine.
obsessed with water.
And the water in Mario Sunshine
Well,
is so
it's the main
beautiful,
character, so it's
right?
got to be.
Like, that is my favorite Mario game, I will say. Like, and it's on the GameCube as well.
So tell me, what's the deal with Wind Waker? I mean, I get that people were upset with it didn't look like a usual game and everything, but did the graphic change have anything to do with the plot, or was that just hey, let's just try something different. Let's do a different artist or something.
Yeah, it was just, we want to try something new. You know, we have this new console with incredible graphics for 2001, and it still looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think that's all super. I had this conversation with a young person recently where it's super, super, super relative. They were playing Mario Sunshine, in fact, because that recently released where you could play that on the Switch with Mario 64 and all that stuff.
With updated graphics.
Yeah,
and it looks even better.
Right, and even that, they were like, this is kind of, you see the age and everything, and it's just like...
They can play Super Mario 64.
Right, like, I was like, you know that quality doesn't have to be a negative factor to it. Like, the way it looks, if it plays well, the story is well, and it's entertaining, the way it looks... Like, I don't know. But again, I'm a big... I think it helps having grown up with varying graphics because this person, this young person would have started gaming when graphics still looked pretty good, and they've only gotten slightly better. And I know some people will get mad at me. Like, some games now with Unreal Engine, sure, I'll give you.
Look
but
incredible.
By and large, since 2012 to now, some games haven't really hugely improved. So that their point of reference of improvement is a little bit, whereas ours is
big old
huge. At the same time, I'm the kind of person that I love going back to play old games of my favorites. Not everyone, but like I'll go back to mine specifically because I want to look at old school Ratchet.
Yeah.
Like I want to see old school blocky Ratchet.
Yeah, I remember playing Sly Cooper. All the polygons on that fox were just like so jagged.
Yeah, well, because of the way they design in the time, it's a lot of like, the expressions are different. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, sometimes I just aesthetically get like, I want to see this. I want to play this. So why is Link in the water?
So basically, from a story perspective, Ganon was sealed away, and then he was resurrected.
Okay, so this is failed timeline?
No. This is adult. No, child. No. This is adult timeline. Sorry. This is
so
basketball.
He's just a cute adult.
Yes.
Okay.
No. This is an ancestor of Link. This isn't Link himself. It's still Link, but it's an ancestor of Ocarina of Time Link. This is the exact face I make every time I try and think too hard about the Zelda timeline.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to our own episode.
Exactly.
I thought, never mind.
No,
I'm not gonna.
Link stays as an adult.
What? Yes. Okay. So.
So he gets married to Marin, has kid.
Right choice.
Right. That's not canon.
Best Zelda
I'm
girl.
Gonna say
what do you mean not canon?
That's not canon.
What? Why? It happened in the game.
No, it didn't.
What?
He should marry Marin. We're gonna go ahead and decide nerd herder canon. He marries Marin, has a bunch of kids, and then an ancestor of Marin and Link is Link in Wind Waker. So Ganon is sealed away.
Okay.
Because of that, yada yada yada, the world is flooded completely. So there's only little bits of land.
So this is
here
just
and
the
there.
new world. Like this is because of what happened.
Exactly.
This is the consequence of him being sealed away.
This is what starts the Industrial Revolution in Legend of Zelda.
Okay.
Because this is the same timeline as Spirit Tracks and
that's the train one,
Phantom
right?
Hourglass. Yes.
Okay. So it's just your typical game though, but just different setting.
Different setting. There's a fantastic sailing mechanic.
Is Ganon the bad guy?
Yes, Ganon is the bad guy. He gets resurrected at the very
Wait,
end.
is this Big Chin Ganon?
Yes, this is Big
Is
Chin
this
Ganon.
like
This is Hinch
beefcake?
Ganon.
Oh,
This is
I love
beefy
this design.
Hinch Ganon. He's
I
wearing
really,
a dress.
This is probably. Oh, is that the one you have the?
No, I don't have that one. I don't like a lot of Nintendo licensed action figures because they seem low quality.
But we've seen it.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because I like this design. I like for
yeah.
Ganon. I really like this design. Link, I'm not huge on. I like Link from, which I know it's kind of similar. It's the one where he goes into the wall.
Yeah, you like Link Between Worlds.
Yes. It's similar enough that I'd say they exist together in my brain, but
Out of all of those Zelda games that you like, I think you would like Link to the Past too, because it's in a timeline.
It's the one directly before my favorite one.
Yep.
So
It goes Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, and then Link Between Worlds,
Mhm.
which I have Link Between
okay,
Worlds.
so that might be my trilogy. So
There you go. That's your trilogy.
So.
But yeah, it plays like a Zelda game. You know, you have different items for different situations. There's Gorons. There's
wait, what do the
Zora.
Rock Boys do? Because there's a lot of water. Do they just float?
Death Mountain's still a place.
Or I guess it's just so
They're
big.
just higher up.
Okay, they just camped a little higher.
Yeah. And something that this game introduces is the Rito.
The fish people?
No.
Gosh dang it!
The Rito
The
are
Rito should be-
evolved from the Zora. So when the world flooded,
The birds
the
evolved,
fish people
The
became bird people.
which makes my head hurt.
Yes.
I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Another cute Zelda girl is introduced, though. Medley, who is Rito, really cutie. She's one of the 3-4 sages.
Is this the game with the one that plays the guitar though? No, is that Breath of the Wild?
You talking about Cass?
Maybe.
He plays an accordion.
He plays an instrument, I remember.
He plays an accordion
Something.
is very different than a guitar.
Tomato, tomato.
So another thing that this game introduced that would come back in later Zelda games
Mhm.
was the Koroks. Yeah.
Oh, the little sea people.
The little sea
The people that poop everywhere.
One of the cutest little boys in the game is McClure, who is a Korok.
Wait, did I lock my car?
Shut up. He's a very sweet, cute little boy. And as in all Zelda games, there has to be a musical element. So you have I forget how many stages there are.
What do you mean all Zelda games?
You play the ocarina in early Zelda games too.
Really?
It's introduced in Link's Awakening. That's the first Zelda game with the ocarina, I think.
In the timeline or in general?
In general.
Really?
In release. Yeah.
Which it's the
ocarina's
only
been
one with a
thing.
good mechanic for the ocarina, in my opinion.
We'll get to that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We're trying.
But yeah, it's a very cut and dry Zelda game. I love it because of the mechanics, personally.
But I think it adds something that it's different.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. The water is beautiful. It's fun to sail. Like, the Z-targeting is what it is, honestly.
it's assisted targeting for people that don't know.
Yeah, Z-targeting was
Because you can't
introduced
play
in-
the game without it.
Exactly. You cannot play the game
Which
without
is
it,
stupid.
John.
It's stupid.
If you Z-targeted, you wouldn't have died so much.
Stop making it so that I have to Z-target just to do basic functions.
You can't move the camera and fight at the same time.
I can in Ratchet and Clank. I can in Halo. I can in Force Awakens. I
There's-
can in many other great games.
But there's automatic targeting systems in those too.
Yeah, but I can still have control. Like, it's built in so that I don't have to do an extra feature when I'm playing the game. I don't have to do let me press this extra button.
It's one button.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
It's
the
on
bosses are
the
so
thing.
difficult. I don't need one more button to have to press. Like, just let me lock on and be done. Literally,
That's the lock-on feature.
Ganon is the only thing in this room. Why should I have to lock on to him?
Because sometimes you have to roll around the room for hearts.
And that shouldn't undo my lock on because clearly he's still the threat in the room.
Welcome to marriage
That's like
counseling.
that's like doing a barrel roll and then being like, wait, where am I? Like, come on, that's stupid. It's stupid. You have to give me that. It is stupid.
I
Aaron Hansen would
disagree.
agree with me. I don't
I
care.
don't care what Aaron Hansen thinks about Zelda games.
Aaron Hansen is the definitive Zelda-er. He said it himself. Z-targeting is stupid. It's ancient. It worked in early games because early games were crap.
You're stupid.
We've gone beyond the need for Z-targeting.
I disagree. Anyway,
That's just
before
'cause
this
you're
argument
nostalgic.
goes on even longer, I think it's no. We can't have this conversation.
My favorite Legend of Zelda game.
Okay.
You've had like 20 minutes.
Fine. Then I get to talk about.
You know what? You know what makes mine great? I don't have to worry about Z-targeting.
You can still do it though.
I don't need to. That's the beauty of it. I can still functionally play this game and not need to Z-target.
It's on a y-axis.
It doesn't matter. So I like Link's Awakening. I kind of mentioned or hinted at that before because it happens within the realm of a few other games that I'm hearing are very similar and everything. But Link's Awakening's old.
Mm-hmm.
Link's Awakening, well, I mean, comparatively, it's actually an older game. Yeah. And it recently got a reskin, I'd say, updated graphics and got put on the Switch. And so I highly recommend if you have a Switch and you're interested in picking up a game. I can't speak to any other one than this one, and I would highly recommend this to anyone. It's a lot of fun, and it's also not typical, which I think is going to be a trend amongst our favorite games. Because even though I like the story of it, or of Legend of Zelda, I don't necessarily like retreading the same. Oh, here's my Goron friend this time. Here's my Zora friend. Oh, let me go fight some bokoblins because they're the only villain in this game. Like, it's very repetitive because there are so many games. And so to have something that completely shakes that up is very, very nice. Like, yeah, bokoblins are in this game, but they're a minor villain. Like, they're just what you encounter in the tall grass to make it more difficult to get to the next area. Like, they're nothing huge.
Yeah, nothing's a threat in this game.
Not really. And I think that's the nice thing, too, is you can take your time. You don't have to... There's no severity to it. Like, you can take time, figure out the dungeon. Like, and that's the stuff I like, is it has legitimate dungeons. It's not just, oh, do this one task that's very, very, very difficult and do it 100 times and get 1 heart for it. They're actual dungeons in terms of, no, you've got to figure this out. Like, oh, one-way doors. You've got holes in the floor that lead to different levels. That's the only way to get there, and you've got to go down the right hole. Or, hey, you've got to find the compass before you can find the key. And so, like, it's just very, very, very well done.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, some of the things that make a Legend of Zelda game it's the dungeons. It's the complexity of play. Complex, but not overtly difficult is the thing. You have to work on it. You have to think. You have to trial and error. But at no point do you ever really rage quit. Like, nothing's to the point where, honestly, it's that difficult. There's one boss where you have to fight them and not get put in one of the holes. And the only difficult thing about that is you get dropped the next floor, and you have to go back, and all their hearts have regenerated. So you literally can't mess up. But that's the most difficult thing in the game.
Yeah.
Add on top of that, again, the ocarina. Great use of mechanics in terms of you learn different songs to get different abilities that are constantly helpful. Not just we need you to do this one time to go back in time and screw over the guy at the lighthouse. No, constantly helpful in terms of teleportation, in terms of the Song of Healing, the Song of Awakening, all of that stuff. Like, it's great. You like the music for that when you learn a song and everything. It's very entertaining.
It's
a
cool.
cute game. It's really old school Nintendo cute when everybody looked the same spritey-like look. Instead of, oh no, we've got Beefcake Ganon and we've got, very adult Link. Like, no, we're not going for realistic. We're going for looks good.
Yeah, I've got Wind Waker Link over there on my amiibo shelf. He is the cutest thing I have.
So, yeah, and then at the same time, it's all side scroll. Again, because it's an older game, even with looking new, I mean, I feel like more people have probably played Pokemon games, so it looks like a Pokemon game in terms of how you, go through the map and everything. And then also, you go to places and you can get so far, and then you got to go to another place to do something else that didn't come, like, because when you see the map, it's like, oh, that's not a lot. This is going to be a short game, and it's not. It really extends itself well. And so, I like it because it's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
The story, eh. I don't like dream stories. I don't like the ending being it's explained away as a dream,
But
which
it's compelling.
kind of spoilers, but
It's compelling.
I think we already talked about that. I mean, it's interesting
Yeah.
for sure, but at the same time, I like my work having meaning, and I feel like by making it a dream, it's just like, okay, so all right, well.
This isn't the last season of Dallas. It's like,
I mean, I'm not saying it's that bad, but
yeah.
and then everything's interesting. You have to talk to characters to get things because there's so few characters. There's not a whole lot, um, and but everything's interesting. And if you don't do certain side quests, it makes other things more difficult. So if you're like a task oriented and you don't like to talk to non-playable characters, you're gonna have to repeat yourself a few times.
You're gonna want to talk to Marin.
Yeah, well, you're gonna want to talk to everybody because everything leads to something eventually with this game, and so, and then also it's just cute. So it's actually it pays off. Like the characters are funny, cute, or interesting to talk to.
That was one of the things that really like pulled me to the game at first. Was like I saw gameplay footage and I was like, this looks really freaking cute. I want to play this. And then while playing it, I think for both of us, there were several times where we just had to stop, set the controller down, and go, "Oh my gosh, that was so cute!" And just
well, my favorite part of any Zelda game is when you get a Marin. I love that part. So there's a part because you can't add anyone to your party.
Yeah.
And for it to make sense of why she's following you, it's like when you get you got a sword, you got a shield, like you got a Marin, you got a person, you got a boo.
Baby.
She's also best girl, like,
She is.
to heck with Zelda. Like, I'm just saying, she wasn't interesting until the later games.
That's fair.
She was the princess stereotype for Nintendo for a long time, is what it is. But, yeah, like, this is just a really, really good game. I can get a lot of people being turned off because it looks too cute and too old. But having played Breath of the Wild, looking good is not everything. There's just aspects that kind of get lost if that's your main priority. And that's what I'm talking about with the whole thing of, like, you're missing great games if you just don't want to play it because it looks old, whatever that means.
Oh, yeah.
My thing is, looks don't have to be the biggest factor of that. And in fact, like, it's getting me nostalgic to want to go play the original Ratchet and Clank game talking about this stuff because it's just such a look. It's such a, like, when people see something or hear something or smell something and they're just like, oh, that is a memory. That's a mood. Like, old graphics are that for me. Like, that just feels special. Once you get over the hump of what I didn't, and it's kind of a sideline. Like, I didn't play games because I cared about what they looked like. My thing, like when I got my first Dragon Ball Z game, Dragon Ball Z Budokai, go back and watch that. It looks horrible. It looks like butt. Okay, but it's such a fun game. And at the end of the day, I just wanted to play a Dragon Ball game. I just wanted to be cool and be like everybody else. Everybody else was on Tenkaichi 3. I'm playing the original Budokai. We didn't even get to Budokai Tenkaichi yet. Like, we didn't get to that point. And so it's just like, I just wanted to play this game. I played the third Ratchet and Clank, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And so it was just, I got to get one of these games. I got the first one. I didn't care what it looked like. I just knew I'm going to have a good time. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I think if people looked at games as the opportunity to have a good time and cared less about what it looks like, is it trendy? Does it do like that one first-person shooter game does? Or, is it like that game? Or, does it keep up with this? Or how many frame rates? And like, just play a good game.
Exactly.
I don't think we've played good games in a long time because we're so obsessed with the statistics and graphics and the trends and blah, blah, blah.
Well, absolutely. Like, I feel like if it's all about your intention. If you intend to play a game because it's got like the A+ graphics, but if it's got a butt story, like,
right? Well, it's the same thing of, oh, you made such an artsy fartsy film. Cool. It's boring. It's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, my thing is, stop putting Academy Award reaching movies in theaters because nobody wants to watch that crap. Give me another Marvel movie if you want to. Like, I'm like, if someone's into film and is watching or hearing this and they're just mad at me, I'm sorry, but like film school film versus and people are going to quote, well, you know why George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were so good is because they're the film school boys and they didn't. Yeah, I know. Okay, I get it. But what I'm saying is he didn't make Star Wars to win Academy Awards. He made it for 12-year-old boys and then everybody else liked it.
Yeah.
His words, not mine. So it's like, it's just one of those things. Stop making games that you're just like, you want awards, accolades, 10 out of 10, IGN, all this other stuff. Make a game that's good because it's fun, it's engaging, and nobody cares what it looks like. Like, put out a game that looks like Link's Awakening now, people are going to crap on it, probably not play it, and then 10 years later, it's going to be the best game ever because everybody's going to come around to it.
That's what happened with Wind Waker.
That's what happens with so many games. And it's so stupid because
Yeah.
we're so obsessed with the trends and the market and everything like that. And, again, I've got people that probably go against me on every one of those points that I'm making and everything. But I'm just saying, I don't play my games for awards. I don't watch my movies for Academy Awards. I'll put it out there. Like, Star Wars getting awards is awesome, and I'm glad people are getting recognized for their work. And I recognize that that's fulfilling for them. But at the same time, that doesn't skew or move me on my opinions. I liked Mandalorian's music because I liked its music, not because it had awards. I liked Star Wars because it was Star Wars, not because it had awards.
Yeah.
I like Ratchet and Clank because it's a great game made by people that you can tell love it. That's it. Like, man, like I don't really care about the awards. And I think sometimes it's okay to like and appreciate the awards, but I think if your decision making is based on awards and graphics and trend setting, it's just like, you're missing a boat, I think.
You talking about nostalgia reminded me of something that I wanted to talk about in the last episode, that it has something to do with today's episode. I think we're going to have to do an entire episode of Twilight Princess by itself.
Yeah.
Because I can talk about that game for a long
So
time.
you just want to throw out,
Yeah.
that's your other favorite.
That's my other favorite,
Which-
is Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess for a very specific reason.
Having not played it, but having watched through it. And I know that's two different things, but I'm just saying, I
It's
really like the story. Well,
It is
again,
beautiful.
being a story-driven gamer, like, the reason I'm watching it is to get the story.
Yeah.
The reason we watch through gameplays of those, number one, is because we can't play all of them without the consoles. Number two, it's because I like story, and I'd rather get the story through gameplay than having it just explained to me.
Yeah.
It's a really great game.
Oh, yeah.
I just hate the mechanic that never comes back, which is probably the best mechanic of Link turning into a dog.
Great.
It's just like,
We're going to...
that would be great during Breath of the Wild. I would love to just bite Ganon's face off. Like,
You can have Link Wolf
I know.
as an amiibo.
I know.
But you reminded me of something that I completely forgot about until, just a few minutes ago when I was talking about title screens. There is... It's a very weird sensation, but, like, when I turned on for the first time Twilight Princess, I put the little disc into the GameCube, turned it on, I remember so specifically the feeling in my chest when I heard the Great Fairy Fountain song for the first time. That is my favorite Zelda music. It's so pretty. It's so, it sounds like a music box song. But, like, I've been moved to tears by that song from nostalgia.
No, I get that.
Like, and I remember so specifically hearing that and being so excited.
Yeah. I get that. Not from a musical standpoint, but, like, it was like when we met James Arnold Taylor.
Yeah.
And just recently, on Twitter, putting out there of, like, hey, I like Ratchet and Clank, and here's these new cool Funko Pops, which are somewhere behind me.
They're behind you.
And David Kaye and James Arnold Taylor, which to Star Wars people will be familiar as Obi-Wan, but he was Ratchet and Clank first. And I told him that at Celebration, and he's when he said, Ratchet and Clank is very special to me. And it was just like...
There's so, like, exactly.
It was
That's
just,
the
like,
feeling.
Growing up with something for so long and feeling like, even to this day, being one of the few people that can say Ratchet and Clank in a general audience, social media or public, and not really getting anything back. To know that at least the person that, I mean, obviously it wrote him a check, but deeper than that, to me, to know when people I've come to really appreciate, not idolize, but really appreciate because of what they did, to know that they enjoyed it, like it's not, it makes it feel like not one-sided, if that makes sense. Like me just enjoying what you did, and it wasn't just a job, like.
Yeah.
And sure, maybe it's silly because that was just a one line and he could have just been saying that. But at the same time, having followed James for a very long time, he's a very cool, genuine person.
Yeah.
I don't think he does anything that he doesn't appreciate doing. And same with David Kay, although David Kay is a little more unfiltered than James. But I also love that because he was also Megatron. He was the best Megatron. Sorry, Frank Welker. But, you know. So, yeah, but, like, I get that, because that was, like, incredible, because everybody's there for Star Wars, and I specifically, I had 2 missions. I want to tell James Arnold Taylor that Ratchet and Clank matters, and I want to tell Hayden Christian, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you got to do both.
I got to do both, and I almost cried both times. And that wasn't even the only 2 times I almost cried at Star Wars Celebration, and so, wow. So I get the emotional value of nostalgia.
Oh yeah, it's something so small, but like it's a punch in the chest sometimes.
And I only throw Ratchet and Clank out there for people's understanding from my side because it's the only thing. Yeah,
franchise.
It's the only thing I can equate to Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, it's a deep childhood love
Yeah.
that blossomed as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like I barely remember playing the first few Zelda games, like on the NES, and then playing Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. I barely remember it, but I remember the feeling of playing those games.
Mm-hmm.
And, sitting next to my brothers on the couch and Justin telling me where to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Meanwhile, I can completely replay those games from like if you wipe my memory card right now, and I still have my original, I could redo that game in 24 hours.
I feel like the best way to kind of boil it down is Zelda feels like home.
Yeah, but I think that's the differences of our personalities.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, you just go and you're just like...
Look at it!
Right, whereas I'm just like, all right, down to business. It's just like, give me your bolts. Let me shank an amoeboid. Like,
I gotta give him a gold bolt.
I gotta buy that rhino. Yeah.
This is I think this is officially the silliest reason I've almost cried on the episode of thinking about the nostalgia of it wasn't even a title sequence, it was the menu select.
Right.
When I remember the specific noise that it made as you selected your game.
Right. Well, I mean, I get feels because PlayStation hasn't changed their sounds in forever.
Yes.
And so there's times when a little boop-a-doop, reminds me of PlayStation or something like that.
Yeah, and you just gotta
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, that it's so packed in. Like, it's not just a thing. So
yeah, and
I totally get it.
I feel like our favorite consoles are time capsules.
Oh yeah.
Putting us back
they're
into,
of a time.
Yeah, it's like going to the Temple of Time and putting the Master Sword back in the slot. I am a child again.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, but it's another reason why, just games to somebody, but it's childhood to somebody else. Just Star Wars to somebody is, incredible emotions to somebody else. And it's just a reason why, love to learn it about people, but also just why to respect people, because you have no idea why people like what they like. And so,
I'll be fair, Twilight Princess, crap water temple.
Well, to be fair, yeah, I mean, I feel like that was a trend of Nintendo. They just had to make it unplayable.
Bad water.
But yeah, so, I mean, 2.5, I guess.
2.5.
We talked about the third one, essentially, but we also had a lot of other sidelines.
Yeah.
But the great thing is Twilight will have to have its own anyway, because it's a great game.
It's a fantastic game.
And everything we've talked about deserves more than we were able to talk about in a single episode. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. We heard from a couple of people about their favorite Legend of Zelda game. But on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, be sure to let us know your favorite Legend of Zelda video game, if you have one. If you haven't, what kind would you think you'd like? I'd greatly encourage checking it out. There's a significant amount on the Switch now, which I appreciate them making available. Find one cheap.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure there's one cheap out there. Maybe you got quarantine life going on. Maybe you just need a break from other serious things. Play a fun Zelda game.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening gets my vote. What is there any on Switch that you would recommend?
If you can't get Link's Awakening, Link to the Past is available on the Super Nintendo app on the Switch.
There you go.
For $4.99 a month.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So I would recommend playing the old Ratchet and Clank games, but you can't because PlayStation is not backwards compatible because they're butts. But there's a new one coming out, and I'm super excited.
I know you are.
I'm so excited. It's been, oh my gosh, it's been quite a long time.
It's been super long.
Since we've gotten a direct one, it has been 7 years, but we've had kind of sideline conversation or sideline games since then. Well, no.
You had a reboot.
It's been 6 years. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Well, yeah, but that starts a new timeline for me.
True.
It does not replace the original. It does not. But you can go watch the movie.
Yes, the movie is very
Oh
good.
my god, it's amazing.
If you've ever seen or heard us put our hands above our head and go, rock.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone is in this freaking movie. It's amazing.
It's like when Nicolas Cage shows up. Like, I feel like Sylvester Stallone is to you what Nicolas Cage is for me. He shows up and we're just like, oh, it's going to be a good movie.
Not quite, but I do appreciate when they get him to do stupid stuff like that.
Yes.
So many great people. If nothing else, James Arnold Taylor, our beloved Obi-Wan Kenobi, is in the movie. He's the title character. David Kaye, the greatest Megatron, is also there. So voice talent plenty. So
And also Captain Quark.
The movie is probably very cheap on like Amazon, YouTube, stuff like that. So
We loved it.
I would highly recommend checking it out if you need a feel-good movie for tonight and all that good stuff. So
yeah, tonight we're going to be watching something else though.
Yeah, we're doing our 13 days of Halloween, and we are 5 days in. I mean, today's day 5 we're doing this. So
yeah, when we are recording this, it is currently 8 days until Halloween.
Yep.
So of course.
I was going to just say, it perfectly fits because our next NerdyVerse episode is about the movie we're watching tonight. We're watching Halloween 3.
Halloween 3.
Season of the Witch.
My favorite Halloween movie.
And so our Halloween special, our first one ever for NerdyVerse, is going to be next week, and we're going to be talking about this movie. You can kind of catch us, or mostly you, live tweeting. We're going to do that for every movie.
Yes.
So
I missed last night, but
we'll catch
fine.
up.
I was tired.
mean, it was okay. Annoying found footage.
Yeah, we watched
I have
House.
found I don't like found footage, except in small doses. So,
yeah.
But nonetheless, check out our social media to keep up with that and all kinds of updates. We appreciate our patrons and also just everybody that listens. Every form of support we appreciate. It's quite heartwarming and amazing. But just be sure to let us know your favorite Legend of Zelda games. Like I said, we're talking about Season of the Witch next week, and then after that, not sure. Well, I am, but I'm not going to tell you. I do, yeah, but we're not going to tell you yet. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be very, very interesting.
Here's a hint: drink your Ovaltine. No.
Don't blink. Is the hint. Yeah. So other than that, hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. Bye bye.
Wait a minute. You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.